to Investing for the Unpredictable. Today's show, our guest speaker is Brad Blazar. And I'll let Brad take it from here.
All righty. Thank you, Chantel. It's great to be here with y'all. My name is Brad Blazar, two-time author, speaker, and coach, and creator of a coaching program called Capital School, where we basically teach entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs how to attract, how to raise investor capital so they can build, buy, or scale a business, or maybe just fund a special project like a real estate transaction to success. But again, you have to learn how to approach investors, you have to learn how to have those conversations, and you have to learn how to come prepared.
For someone that's learning this, what is there any particular expectation they should have in meeting with an investor, as opposed to, when you're meeting with a bank, you have to have your financial statements in order. You have to have a background history of all of your income tax returns, how long you've been in business, your next of kin. They need all that to go to a banker. But now, when you're going to an investor, are there some of those things similar, or what would they expect to prepare to have?
It's very different, actually, when you're visiting with a prospective investor. One of the things that we teach is something called the trust sequence. And the trust sequence is something that was written about in a wonderful book by the name of The Trust Economy. It was written by an author named Philippe DeConer. And he basically talks about 6 things that have to take place, one after the other. It's a sequence or a cadence of events that need to take place in order to build trust and establish a relationship with another person. And the thing that's really interesting are the first 3 in that sequence are proactive, meaning it's largely you doing the talking. It's you putting forth the effort. And then the last 3 are reactive, which means it falls on the investor's part. They're now absorbing. They're now basically taking things in. And really the very first step is what we call perception. It's literally the initial introduction. It's the perception that you make when you meet somebody for the very first time. And it starts with everything from the handshake, to the way you're dressed, to what you say, to the quality of your business card, to the quality of the materials that you share with them. And once you get past the perception, which is largely deciding whether there's ever going to be a second date, as I explained, you get to an important part, and that's what we now call temptation. And as a person raising money, you have to try to uncover what the temptation is in that other person. What's going to ultimately cause them to invest? Are they looking for capital appreciation? Are they looking for income? Are they looking for both? Maybe they're concerned about taxes, and so they're looking for investments that largely have a tax benefit component. And you just start asking questions, Chantel, when you invest, what's the time horizon that you typically like most of your investments? Are you more short-term, or are you comfortable with a longer-term investment? And once you uncover that temptation, what we simply find now is that we start building an emotional connection. And the third step in the sequence is what we call connection. It's when you start to notice that prospective investor is checking out your LinkedIn profile, or maybe they're asking to become a friend on Facebook. You notice that they're checking you out on Instagram. Maybe they look at your website. And so what they're doing now emotionally is they're building this sense of a connection. And that leads to the 4th step, which is the most important. And we call that validation. Once you get to validation, which is where that prospective investor now looks at you and says, I can trust you, you have validated yourself in my eyes as someone that is a good steward of capital, or as someone that I can treat as a fiduciary. The 5th step is attachment, and that's where they ultimately invest. They're going to either write you a check, or they're going to wire the proceeds. And once they do that, they're now attached to you as an investor, and that now leads to the very last step, which is basically what we call an accommodator. They're now going to basically help you raise money by introducing you to people in their network through referrals. But this is a lengthy process. And the big problem that I see many people make that are trying to raise money is they rush the process, meaning they're starting to talk about the deal, or they're starting to pitch the investor before there's ever any relationship, or before there's ever any trust. And so if that other person doesn't trust you, what are they going to do? They're going to turn and they're going to run in the other direction, which is largely the reason that many people that try to raise money don't do it successfully. They don't understand these principles, and they don't understand some of these things that are very important in the process that have to actually take place.
That's a lot of information you covered here.
Yeah, it really, to learn how to do this properly, of course, takes a little bit of time. It would be impossible to teach somebody how to go out and raise hundreds of thousands or millions in the course of an hour or two. But the great thing that I explain to people is learning how to raise money is something that can be taught. It's like any other skill, whether it's playing the piano or, learning how to ride a bike. It's simply a skill. And once somebody that's done it for a lengthy amount of time, that is very skilled at it, sits down and shows you and explains it, and maybe gives you a script or gives you a blueprint that has proven to work, it just then takes effort and it takes practice. And, we have many people, of course, that we've worked with that today are raising hundreds of thousands, and in some cases, a million or more a month. It's because they now largely understand the process, and they put in place systems that actually now are allowing them to do that.
I want to say something here. There are people that I know are listening to this who are in a startup position of their businesses who haven't been taught this at all.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some who are already in business who had no clue how to raise money. How can they get in touch with you? Because I think it's so important to know how to reach your school, because I intend to be taking classes myself. I am very impressed because I'm going to share with you, just listening to what you just said just now, I can see the difference in why some people are able to succeed at what they're doing and some just up and down, in and out, because they had no specific format or training on how to get there.
Absolutely. It really comes down to understanding that to ultimately have tremendous success in any business, you have to have systems. Systems are what businesses to scale. It's having a system so that when somebody is hired, you can sit down next to them and say, Lisa, this is how we do things. This is a proven system, and it is replicatable, and therefore you can teach other people how to do that. And that's how you're able to build and scale an organization. And so it's the same thing about raising money. If I can teach one person how to successfully raise money, and then I can teach another person how to successfully raise money, before you know it, I can have 4 or 5 people all working collectively, calling and networking with investors, and really scale a business where we're raising ultimately, millions of dollars a month. Now, to learn about the program and learn largely about what we do, anybody that is a listener of yours can go to our website. My name is Brad Blazar, and so my website is just www.bradblazar.com. My last name is spelled B-L-A-Z like zebra, A-R, Blazar. And you'll see a little link there up at the very, very top that says Capital School. And that has information, of course, about the program. And you can communicate with us, send us an email. Of course, it has our phone number and other ways to reach out to us as well. And basically what people get access to when they enroll is a community of global entrepreneurs all over the world that are at some point raising capital. Either they're new to it, or they're somewhat experienced, or they've been doing it for a while. And so you're able to hold other members of the group accountable, but also, of course, network and largely learn from them. And then we have what we call our toolkit. This is basically a virtual online academy where there's a lot of video lessons, a lot of courses and modules, access to scripts, access, of course, to templates so that you can create your own pitch deck or your own offering memorandum and basically come prepared so that now when you're in front of an investor, you're basically prepared. When you go and you pitch to an investor, it's very different than really going to a bank. An investor is really looking to you, and they're largely looking to you to try to decide whether you have a good investment objective or a good business to invest in. They're looking to you as somebody they can trust. And then they're also looking to you and asking, well, what's the team that this person brings to the table? And a lot of people, I think, that want to do bigger things in life never take the first steps and never take action because what they fear is, well, I don't have a track record. I've never done this before. I have no prior performance history to show somebody. And my response and my, answer to that is, my goodness, look at me. I was a 23-year-old college dropout that never had drilled an oil well. And all of a sudden I built a multi-million-dollar oil company and we're raising millions of dollars a month. So it just simply comes down to the confidence that you're able to exude. But more importantly, it's the ability to sit down on that first deal, whatever it is, whether it's a little single family house or whether it's a small apartment or whether it's a new business, and really speak from confidence and say, this is what I plan to do. This is how I plan to do it. And this is the small team of people that I'm working with that are going to help us get there. And once you're able to communicate that and articulate that, you're 90% of the way there, because like I said, understanding that trust sequence and understanding that if you can get that investor to the fourth step, which is validation, where they validate you as somebody they can trust, the rest of it is all now just downhill. It's just really asking for the close and asking for them to invest alongside you.
I